first for introduction, and hopefully you can find 5 differences between the previous speech and this one, because for some reason we have the presentation on the similar topic, like the customer portal for the bank and how to make it from scratch. The difference might be that we are not the company of the size of Komerční banka or of Société Générale, so I think that you can find a couple of differences. And I would like to introduce my colleague, Honza Pražák, who is one of the developers who's been working on the portal, and we thought that it might be interesting to have someone who's hands-on on the portal development, and he will mention some ups and downs he found on his journey to deliver that. So, how to build a customer portal from scratch? Just allow me to provide you with a little bit of business context. So the Wood & Company is not a traditional financial house, but it has various different products or services. One of them is asset and wealth management, so it's for the clients who want to invest a lot of money and want to get even richer. So those are the clients we can very well serve, I believe. Then we are traditionally serving the large institutional investors, and we are serving most of the markets in Central Eastern Europe, and we are acting as a broker in that region. We are also quite active in the real estate sectors, so we are buying some office centers and commercial centers, and we also advise the companies on the IPOs. So if you decide to go to the market, we advise you how to do that and how to do the initial property offering. And we also can help you with the venture investment. So if you need some extra money for your business growth, we can help with that as well. In terms of numbers, we have about 180 plus companies that we are covering by our analytical products. We are covering about 30 markets, and we have around 5 billion euros assets under management. Last year we've traded about 20 billion euro. So this is just because I guess that the Wood & Company is not as well known as the previous companies, so this is why I'm trying to give you a little bit background to that. Maybe some little intro on what's behind our DNA. I don't know if there is any sound here, but maybe it will work also without the sound. Basically, there's something about the company and its growth ambitions. We are working. I don't know if some of you is passionate about triathlon or some tough challenges. So we are working with Petr Vavroušek and Martin Gabla, who are quite well-known Czech extreme triathlonists, and they are proudly representing our brand, and we are proud that we have such a partners there. But coming back to the problem we've been solving, as you can imagine, we are not new on the market. We are there already for about 30 years, and we've accumulated some of the legacy. And so that was the issue we were targeting. And we've had the legacy customer portal that was, let's say, the cutting-edge technology maybe 20 years ago. But nowadays it posed several challenges, like the security, of course, the problem with maintenance, and as well as it was missing some features, although it could fly very well many years ago. So what we could do, of course, we wanted to shut it down as soon as possible, but we also needed to keep the existing team and to create the new one. So we've been trying to find some talents who might help us to build that up, and Honza is one of them. At the very beginning, we've started with very small, so we have just basically 3 people on the back end, and we still have, I think, 3 people on the back end. There is a small front-end team, and we've started to scale it as it grows, but it's not those 30-plus teams in some large bank, but it's, I think, very, very agile in its nature, so no extra overhead. Of course, later on, we've hired product owner. At the beginning, it was me running this. Then later on, as we had some other projects, we've hired a product owner. It's a lady that cannot unfortunately be here, but hopefully she will join next time, and she's leading the team very well at the moment. And we have that front-end team that's also quite small, about 3 or 4 people. We have the core core banking system that's developed by about 4 developers, and a data warehouse team where we have 2 or 3 people who are preparing the reports that are being fed into the system. So that's about how we do it. Now I'll hand over the word to Honza, who will tell you some details about the tech stack.
Thank you. I welcome you as well. Thank you for the introduction. So this tech stack, we of course have front end with some technologies. I'm a backend developer, .NET developer, so this doesn't tell me much, but that's what it looks like. We collect some analytical some analytical data using Google Analytics. We also try to support Smart Hub Chat, which doesn't fully work yet, but it's a planned feature. And I'll probably go to backend. Okay. So backend is basically split into 2 parts, which is better seen here. We have a .NET REST API and then a .NET server. This is done for security reasons. The API is available publicly, and that's what the client communicates with. Then it sends messages through the message broker, RabbitMQ. These messages are encrypted, and the .NET server then processes those messages and responds to the requests. The API doesn't have access to any of our internal systems. That's the main security feature, that all the internal systems are not exposed to the outside world and are only accessible from the .NET server, which is located within the company infrastructure. The company infrastructure, we inherited some systems from the previous portal. The CRM and the Java interface to the order management system. The CRM is where our employees fill information about our customers, their portfolios, relationships, and some other data. This information then needs to get to the customers so they can see it in the portal. Because the CRM is built for human interaction, so the staff at our company can fill it in, and it contains more information than just for the portal, but various other processes throughout the company. We have access to it directly, but it's slow. So therefore, we have a dedicated SQL server which stores all the necessary information and is synchronized with the CRM through Azure Service Bus. So whenever a change occurs in the CRM, we are notified through the Azure Service Bus and update the information in our database. So then we only work in our database where we have only the necessary information and no other processes that are tied to change in some fields, etc. And also the login details and such things. Then the Java interface to the order management system. That's, as you can imagine, the order management system in a financial institution is pretty important. So we cannot overwhelm it with our requests when we scale, when we have more users, when we want to expand. So we cache the data and do not always send it directly to the interface. Then, before we make a new release, we thoroughly test the application. For that, we have, of course, unit tests. Then we included integration tests, which test that the communication between the other systems, the CRM, the Java interface application, is working properly, that all the connected systems are connected, that we haven't blocked some ports or something like that. And then on top of that, we have automated UI regression tests, which are done using test complete. And these tests go through entire workflows. So they might, for example, create a new user in the CRM, wait for it to be synchronized in our database, set it up, like go through setting up a first password, then log into the portal, check that all the data that was filled in the CRM is really available in the portal, and things like that. So we can be certain that when we deploy, nothing was broken that was previously prepared. Also, when I was talking about releases, we of course have release pipelines. I forgot I have a slide for that. Okay. So your test won't fail if you don't write them, but of course your application will, so we write them. And of course, every project is better with CI/CD, so we added that, and we can release with a click of a button. The CI/CD pipeline includes deploying the front end, deploying the API, and deploying the backend server or separately, and also runs the regression tests. I think I can handle it back to you.
Yep. Thank you. So yeah, just to recap, this is how the legacy client experience looked like. This is what we've reached after, I don't know, I think the initial version was ready within maybe a year, 1.5 years.
Yeah, a year and a half, I would say.
Yeah. And then we've been gradually improving that, of course, working on the responsivity. Then we went through the rebranding, so we had to redesign everything once again right after we finished the pixel perfect design. So it was quite painful, especially for the front-end team, who was quite crazy about the function, kind of as the product owner is quite keen on being precise on every single pixel. So they finished the version 1, and then the marketing came up with the rebranding, and they had to do it once again. So they were super happy, but the result is, I think, very nice. So maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and the portal expanded beyond the original scope, which was to build a new customer portal. But in other sectors of our company, the teams liked the portal and started using it as well. So it's also used as an internal application where our internal staff can use it to manage the portfolios of our customers. And we are still expanding it and still planning new features. Like it's become a great focus for our stakeholders to put more priority into this project, as they see great value in it and its progress.
Yeah, and so the technologies we've used, it's Vue.js and Next.js as an extension on the front end. Then the back end is .NET REST API, RabbitMQ, and Azure Service Bus for the communication with the dynamic CRM. And maybe, I don't know if you want to say something on top of that for the integrations. Maybe some security aspects are quite important because, yeah, as we are the financial institution, it should be, we are trying to focus on the security of the portals. So apart from the standard penetration testing, we've embedded some design features that help us with the security. So I don't know if you want to mention something about that.
Well, I also spoke about all these tests that we perform, the unit tests, the integration tests and the regression tests. But to say more about security, the main point of security is that we separated the application into two parts. But also for the API, the communication is secured by bearer tokens. So even the API can verify that the user is valid, that it can authenticate them, can authorize them, and then the security is repeated on the backend server side and with more information about the user as it can access their portfolios, etc. So we can be certain that they are really who they pretend to be.
Yeah. Of course, we are using the multi-factor authentication and things like that. And yeah, so that would be what I would say about the security. And we should have some video that's somehow wrapping up the functionality of the application. So yeah, you can see all the transactions, all the assets you have in your portfolio, the proportions of the assets within the portfolio. You have some investment opportunities, so you can directly request them to be included in the portfolio and to be continued. So yeah, do you have anything else to add, Honzo?
I think that's all for me.
Also all for me, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so do you have any questions?
Yeah, so you said that you worked on the, like, until the first version was complete, took about a year and a half. What's in your opinion the biggest challenge that you faced during the redesign of backend and front end?
Well, I would say that's hard to answer because it was not really a redesign. It was built in from scratch.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we just had to complete the portal.
And yeah, I think the biggest obstacle was to agree on how to interpret certain numbers or products to the customer, because there were different. The problem, or yeah, one of the aspects of the company we have, that we are originally the trading company for the institutional investors, and that wealth management product for which this portal is designed is something a little bit different. So, and what we have are kind of two views. We call it the trade view and the settlement view. So, and basically it shows different numbers. So there is a trade date pricing for when you invest into something, and there is the settlement date pricing and the status of your portfolio. And we were designed internally to that trade date kind of orientation, because we are the trading company. But investor wants to, if you invest in some simple instruments, like if you buy some obligation or the stock, it might be easy. But if you start with some FX forwards, and if you go on with some repo operations and things like that, it makes the cash flows a little bit shifted in a time. And and in trade date, it's not a problem. But if you are an investor who has his wealth on one pile and wants to look, so what's my wealth right now? you need to make some cut, and you need to basically make sure that all those transactions that have some time, that are timely definite, that they have to be settled at that moment when you want to take a look at it. So that was the biggest obstacle, I think, to agree what we want to show to that investor, to make sure that it makes some understandable picture for him or her. And that took us a lot of time to tackle it.
Yeah, sorry if
If I can make a little bit follow on that, how you organized and what kind of organization helped you to make those right decisions. You give example, decision was important, but how that was organized? Who was the product owners? How they communicate, or how was the team kind of organized, and basically how you achieve those kind of important decisions?
Yeah, at the beginning it was quite, I would say, punk organization, so we didn't have any dedicated product owners for that, and we were also, at the same time, we are still a little bit transforming from the traditional organization, so we have, I would say, maybe kind of 2 tracks. There is one track developing that core system, and the other tracks developing the new systems that are around. And so at that moment, we had to use the resources from the business analyst team, and they were used to do things, I would say, very structurally, and it seems to be quite slow for let's say, the way we've seen it. So it was a little bit of cultural clash with the existing organization and the way we wanted to deliver. And so we've done a couple of tries to do this and that, and trying to get some resources from the existing business analyst teams, but it didn't really work well. Then we used some people from the business, but they were very busy, of course, and they didn't have time to go into the details. And we ended up hiring the product owner, and I think that helped us the most, because that since that moment it let's say, it started to grow in a way it should. So because our colleague, she gave it a proper structure, she made that zillion of interactions that was needed with all the stakeholders, so to make sure that everyone is happy and no one feels offended, or no one feels like that someone is somehow stealing his or her area of influence and things like that. So that kind of a communication part was, I think, the key to deliver that in the given environment.
I have a question. Do you use any Agile framework?
Since I've started, I've been promoting Scrum a lot, as I'm also working with Zuzka on some Scrum trainings, and so I'm quite a...
I'm asking because I'm really curious, how do your sprint reviews work? Do you invite users? Do you invite business people into those?
Yeah. I've been trying to introduce that, but for the portal, I would say that the development is so fast that we've somehow jumped out of that Scrum framework, and we are more in Kanban, so we do not have any regular releases. And even though we still have some events like review and planning, they are more, I think, we perceive them to be more legacy, and they do not perfectly, they are not perfectly aligned with releases. So there can be many more releases than sprint reviews. So I think the current pace of the development is so fast that we somehow sneaked out of that framework, even though it's somehow those events are there, and they have like, of course, the refinement and planning and dailies. It's there and it works, but it's much closer to Kanban at the moment.